schools, it starts December 2nd, which is the day after Thanksgiving break. I would assume that the schools will elect to probably go on the 3rd or the 4th, because they got a 2-week window there to get them in. So I don't think they'd want to test their kids right after Thanksgiving break, but that's when the window opens for that. So the spring one, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but we'll get to that next semester. But this is Polk County School as a whole, Polk County Schools as a whole. So when you see this information, don't try to dissect one particular school. I can get you that information if it's something that you want to see, but this is the State Department's information for Polk County School System as a whole. There's several slides on here. There's about 7 just to kind of look at and glance at. And I've got paper copies if you guys want them later or not. But Polk County School System was rated advancing. And in advancing, there's 3 or 4 determinations of what the school system can be. But with an advancing rating, we had 2 reward schools at Chilhowie Middle School and South Polk Elementary. Those of you who know Chilhowie Middle School, previous year didn't do so hot. I mean, they really got together and worked and did a really good job to become a reward school. Oh, that's not gonna go to sleep. It's Miss Nipper's computer, not mine.
Under the bus.
It goes to sleep in 30 seconds. I'll just keep moving around a little bit. Also, I wanted to say that Copper Basin High School was a level 5, and they've continued to be a level 5 for several years now. So they weren't a reward school, but they did gain a level 5.
Could you tell them again what a reward school is?
Reward school is the top 20% of the state. So take all the schools, and it's done with their, oh goodness, the word for lost me. I'll get to it in a second because it's on another slide. With their accountability and everything that's in there, so Chilhowie Middle School and South Polk Elementary score within the top 20 of the state.
You mean growth?
Yeah, in growth, yeah. We'll roll through here. This is an interesting map here. If you guys want to see this, this is all of our area counties and how we compare to them. Polk County being down here, as you see across the board, district composite, literacy, and numeracy. In Polk County, of course, all blues are great. Dayton did very well. Hampton County did very well. Polk County School System, we're a level 5 system altogether. In literacy, ELA, we were a level 3, and in composite and numeracy and math, we were a level 4, which bodes very high for us. Our school system's been a level 5 for quite some time. Well, last year we weren't a level 5, were we? We dropped last year to a 4, but generally the pattern for Polk County Schools has been a level 5 school. And that's a really interesting one because you get a little closer look at some of our neighbors, so on and so forth, and see how we did compared to them. And I don't want to take up too much time, but I've got this in paper if you guys want to see this. I figured this is one that's a little bit more interesting, so you can try to.
And just to add a point here, we're talking about growth here.
Yeah.
How far a student grows academically in that school year. Specifically, that's what the state grades us all.
To go back to say that we were advancing, this just describes a little bit of it. School systems can come in as marginal, satisfactory, advancing, or exemplary. Polk County School System was at a 2.4, so you can see it falls within this grade here, and it is considered the district is meeting growth expectations on average. So we were advancing in that category. And we're going to hopefully continue to push that on. This one breaks down a little bit more at where you're looking at 3rd through 5th, 6th through 8th, 9th through 12th. And you're looking at kind of your elementary schools, obviously middle and high schools, and how they do comparatively. Again, this is all as a whole. I know we've only got 2 high schools, and I know this 6th through 8 will count the 6th through 8 up here and down there. It's not just Chilhowie Middle School, so on and so forth. So everybody's in there. What we tend to see, and you'll see it here in just a little bit as well, we do great in elementary, we do well in middle school, and in high school we need a little bit of improvement areas. And that's the things that we've talked about tremendously this summer, getting forward at the beginning of this school year as well. And not saying that the high school is just the bottom and the elementary school is just the top. That's the trend that we have right now with some things. We're not happy with that. We want to change that. Of course, we want all of our schools to be higher functioning and higher achieving, so on and so forth. But again, kind of a snapshot at what we did last school year. It's chronically out of school. The higher the number actually with it, the better, because we're trying to get up to a 4. That kind of threw us for a loop last year, because we do have a couple schools that have a 4 chronic absenteeism. We thought, oh no, that's not good, but actually it is. So if you see those types of reports, with accountability this year, accountability is in math and ELA. Accountability also is Ready Graduate, the chronic absenteeism and graduation rate. We had a very good graduation rate in our high schools combined. Chronic absenteeism, I know that was a concern at some point, because in the high schools, we did take out like the 9 weeks test and the exemptions and things like that. And people thought, well, the kids don't have any reason to come to school. They're just gonna miss school like crazy. We actually had better attendance rates for the most part this past year than we had the previous year. So maybe we got lucky on that, or maybe it just played itself out. English language proficiency, which majority of our students here, we don't have a lot of DL students. Graduation rates, as you can see, are there across the board as well. So, and again, advancing districts meeting expectations on average. Yep.
Yeah, you said this is also based off growth, right?
Right.
So if you had a good proficiency in the high schools and you didn't have much room for growth, would that give you a low score on this?
Yes and no. You're not going.
It seems like they kind of work against each other. If you do good with growth, then it means your proficiency was terrible.
It depends on where your
Proficiency's been good, you're not gonna have as much room for growth.
But it does depend on where your growth is at. If you've got kids, say in a freshman algebra class, and they come into you from the 8th grade level, ready for the 9th grade, and you grow them to the 10th grade, if you grow, you grow them to geometry, which doesn't line up, might not be a good example. But you grow them that year, you get that year's growth, which is beneficial, and whether they pass the test or not.
Yeah.
That makes sense. It's kind of more individual in that sense, but you're right, because a lot of times it feels like, well,
Like
we're
another
growing
big
them,
sword.
but yeah, but once you get so high, and that was something that I know that the school system as a whole and schools as well worried about with our schools that do perform at a level 5 constantly. At some point, if you're top notch, you got nowhere to go. At some point, it will catch up and drop. And then, I don't know if that's what we really saw at Polk County High School this past year, as they dropped from a 5 and dropped a little bit lower as well.
The concept that you're making in the big picture is correct.
Yes.
In a bigger picture than we have had in one year's journey. But an overall picture of that is eventually, if my 3rd grade is top notch and I'm growing them 2 years and I'm a 5, they're not gonna grow
it much.
2 years every year.
Yeah.
You know, so
So it's kind of hard to
theoretically.
digest sometimes. What do you hang your hat on? Do you hang it on achievement or do you hang it on growth?
Yes, and the State Department is puzzling over that right now. And I promise, starting now, for the next 3 years, you will see a seismic shift in what the State Department considers more important. They've hung their hat for 10 years on growth. And so schools are starting to speak that language, and now they're going to shift the gears, and they're going to start to focus more on achievement. I promise you heard it here first, because that's what our superintendent conference is about. The shift is going to go from growth to more achievement. And what we have are teachers that have students, and they're growing on their 1.5 or 2 years, but they're still not passing the state test. So what you get is, when you start comparing Tennessee students, Polk County students, to the rest of the state, that's one thing. If you go to a broader spectrum and you start comparing Polk County students to the United States and to the world, then growth is not quite as important, because achievement is a thing that's showing how high your standards are, not your growth. Your growth shows you how far you've grown, but your achievement shows you how high your standards are in comparison to the rest of the world in whatever subject.
And achievement proficiency is basically this, interrelated, right?
Achievement proficiency
Yeah,
are the same
yeah,
thing.
they're the same.
Dr. Jones, just kind of change the subject a little bit, but is there still talk about going back to the old tech prep, college prep phones? Talk about in the past, I've heard that, you heard anything like that?
Well, no, not worded just like that, but achievement and life readiness are the big things.
Yeah, the
Every
ready
5
grad,
years, we go through this.
the ready graduate part of that is, I don't think there's a diploma for tech prep in that sense,
Yeah.
but there's a huge push across the state, and I would assume across the country as well, of getting people better prepared for after secondary education. Post-secondary education, you know, I know that Copper Basin High School, Polk County High School both partnered with Enzo. You know, we try to partner with anybody we can locally as well, and things like that, where we're starting to push those things. And Dr. Goodman can answer that a lot better, but he's on top of things. He's got some things rolling right now that are very positive for our kids in this school system. Back to that a little bit, and I'm about done, I promise, guys. On track and mastered, on track being proficient, mastered being a little bit above that. This is just a breakdown of all the students, so I can tell you what those are, but it's neither here nor there. This is looking at all of our students, and this is kind of what I said at the beginning: elementary schools, middle school, high school. Success rate in our 3 through 5s here in ELA and math are at 43.3% of our kids passing those tests. In middle school grades 6 through 8, 31.4, high school high school 23.8 as well, or also. And that's an issue. I mean, of course, anytime you see decline and things like that, that's something that we take notice of, and we want to try to intervene as much as we can and try some things. And this is where I think this number right here is something Dr. Jones has talked about for a couple of years, and this summer as well with us and Dr. Bell especially, of pushing secondary schools towards achievement. We want to move that needle closer to the state achievement and continue. Of course, we want our kids to grow. Of course, we want our kids to be successful. But we want more of them to start passing these tests, these standardized tests that our teachers are supposed to be, and I believe are, preparing them for. And of course, we can get into all kinds of reasons why numbers drop, this and that, whether it's parent involvement, whether it's whatever the case may be. But but we do see a trend there. But that is something that we are focused on as a school system. It really is. We've been starting to put a lot of different things in place. A lot of our tested teachers, we're starting to put achievement plans together and things along those lines to kind of not hold them more accountable, but to try to emphasize where we're trying to go, and that is moving that needle towards achievement. We've done it with growth for years.
Let me add one thing right here. Just to help you understand what you're looking at right here, this is very close to the state average.
It is.
But still, so what happened is the state of Tennessee said, you know what, we need to be at a higher level in math compared to the rest of the states in the world. So we're going to raise the standards, and we're going to raise the cut scores, and we're going to make math very hard to pass so that this is the result. Now, this is why this is so important. 3/4 of the math classes across the state of Tennessee are not passing the math test. They're not proficient in the test. And so, like I said, for 3 years now, you're gonna see a lot about getting this number way up here so that a lot more than 3/4.
She ended up coming 2 years ago, but they
Yeah.
can let you know that it's gonna happen. These are gonna go down,
Definitely,
and they did.
yeah. Now they're gonna raise cut scores again. So there's gonna be a real push on achievement because we don't have enough kids passing the test.
So they shouldn't be teaching about passing tests, they should be teaching about how to do the thing, they need to be successful. That's the main thing. They've lost the focus on that.
Here we are just again, Polk County system-wide composite, level 5, literacy we're at 3, numeracy 4, system-wide, those combined together averaged out to a 3, but we did come back with a level 5 school system this year, something that we are very proud of, and we should be proud of. 3-year trend, and this is our last one right here, just so you guys can kind of see. Blues 2017, orange 2018, and the grays 2019 of what we've done as a system, as a whole, ELA in math for the last 3 years in Polk County. We did good last year. We did, you know, and I came from Polk County High School and was there for several years and stuff, and I hated to see that number drop. But dang, I mean, middle school's a reward school, South Polk's a reward school, Copper Basin High School's a level 5 school. Copper Basin Elementary was a 1 the previous year, they were 3. The school jumped 2, and that, I mean, the school system did very well last year, and it's something that we should be proud of. But of course, we're gonna continue to push that as anybody would, because we want the best for our kids, obviously, and hopefully we are doing the right things and putting the right stuff in, right people in the right places to accomplish that.
Did you see a trend that previously when the high schools were high and the middle schools and elementary schools were a little lower, now you see that group trickles on up, it brought the uppers down a little bit?
Well, see,
Does that correlate?
There's an ebb and flow with it. I mean, you know, if the middle school's doing very well, it puts a lot of pressure on the high school to continue to push
But
in
you
that
also gotta
sense.
look at the group of students you had there too, that you're teaching.
Correct.
You know, if you had 1 or 2 grades that are back to back that were really struggling,
Yeah,
you know, you got a group there that was a target to watch anyway.
yeah, but
And they moved up, and as they moved up, the lowers came up, and they were more proficient. When these went up, they still haven't caught up.
Yeah.
And sometimes you gotta look at, is that,
Well, and
did that correlate with this?
and
I
that's,
think the biggest factor, wait a minute, that's an awful, what you're saying is true if you look at a 7-year span.
Okay.
If we want to get specific about Polk County High School,
I'm talking about just the Polk, I'm talking about
No.
those 2 or whatever.
I'm gonna make a good point here. So we had the best math teacher in algebra that we probably had
since Cindy Moss.
maybe since Cindy Moss at Polk County High School, and that was Adam Stone. And he was a 5-star teacher, and we took him and made him assistant principal. It does leave some void, we're working on it, those teachers are responding very well, they wanna get better, they wanna do, but he really was just that good.
Yeah.
That he, kept those math scores pretty high. So when you take him out, you have to work hard to go in after.
But you always hear teachers say that, oh, this year's class, I had a lot of kids that were, you know, really tough to
Mhm.
teach this year. And then you see them trickle up, and you hear it from the next one, you hear it from the next grade, oh gosh, you know. So I just wondered if that kind of correlated with this, do we track them? You track them class by class, and just see
We
how
do.
much each year they.
We can go back, yeah, we can go back, and most of the teachers want that information, and it's
Yeah.
things they've got ready at their
They
hands.
know what they're
We-
going,
yeah, we
that way they
can-
know what they're getting next year.
We can go back to 2016 in state testing right now. Well, I mean, because, like I said, we're Pearson, and then with NextEra, so I mean, we have to go back and forth between those companies and stuff, but,
How long is the state, how long are they gonna go with Pearson? What's the
Till
length of their
they screw
contract?
up, they can't afford them. I don't know.
They got enough time where you can get your data a little better road once the state's had it in the last few years.
I'd have to check and
Well,
look and get back
So
with
Pearson
you.
just came back on.
Yeah,
Right.
July
We
1.
hope so.
It's been a roller coaster ride,
I think
and
it's,
how they come up with some of this stuff thoroughly amazes me anyhow.
I think it's what you pay for is what you get, and they have all these test companies that they got low quality tests. Pearson's top notch because they own all these testing things like ACT and
Mhm.
practice exams and all that, so it's a quality.
The contract, how long that contract was they signed with them, I don't know that off the top of my head, but I'll figure that out and get it back to you.
I think it was 3 years.
3 years.
I mean, it was a jump to make that, however many years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, the big move to make everything online, it wasn't a realistic job. It sunk, I guess it was Pearson that sunk it the first time. But anyway, it's been a tragic train wreck of testing companies that for lots of reasons, all the way down to how big a bandwidth each school has,
Yeah.
you know, whether they can handle the upload or not.
What's the chart there does overall, was the one you just showed us will go to all the counties and everything?
Real pretty.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
So, Bradley County right there.
Well, we wouldn't want to start, in a formal board meeting, we probably don't want
Here's what I'm
to
saying.
single anybody out.
That's what I'm gonna say. I like to see that chart in the newspaper, just to put it in there, just to show it.
Well, it's on State Department, it's public knowledge, you can go there and do it, but I know what you mean.
I know, just to show.
Said you had hard copies?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we do a lot of things in our county to be proud of. I'm not, you know, just trying to be aggressive. Yeah.
But all in all, we had a good school year, and we plan to continue that process and keep going and get better every year, so. Anything else?
Do I have any questions?
Well, we do have Cindy Moss doing the maternity leave for us. We're doing, this one was maternity leave. Trying to get her involved with that.
She got me one.
Oh.
Thank you.
Other information items, reminder of October board meeting is October 21st. And, review board policy for September, 1.10, 1.18.